Hi. Thanks for joining us for the Atoms and Style Properties Part 2. So far, we have examined style properties of data input atoms. Now, let's continue with style properties of the other data input tool atoms as well as the style properties of data search tools. To understand the properties better, we recommend trying out the properties described in this tutorial on your SmartMaker solution. Let's move on to Date Picker Atom. Right-click on Date Picker Atom, open Style Properties, and you will see that it consists of Data Type, Item Properties, Validate, Other Options, and Display Options. Date input is set by default for data type. And in Item Properties, various display formats for date can be selected from the list. When you select Time input from the data type, the display format of Item Properties is changed to Time-specific format. Validate property allows you to check whether the entered value is valid within the set range. This property is active only when data type is set as date input. You can either type in the date or select it from the calendar. Using Help Message, you can specify a message to be displayed when the date entered is outside of the valid range. Let's go to Run mode and enter the date with Date Picker. If a date within the valid range is entered, no message will appear, but when the date outside the valid range is entered, the help message will be displayed. Including the properties and other options and display options from style properties of date input atom. Now we have covered every style properties of date picker. Next, let's tackle style properties of image input atom. You might be wondering, what is the difference between picture atom in design tools and image input atom in data input tools? Picture is an atom to simply adding picture on the program screen. Input image atom, on the other hand, can save image data such as photos taken with the device camera as well as load and display them. In Image Input Style Properties window, input options consist of camera, file, and signature. While users can access all the options from their mobile devices, we recommend selecting the input option users will most frequently use from the development stage to create more user-friendly interface. Camera option provide function to directly add image taken from the cameras on mobile devices. And file is a function that retrieves and enters an image file stored in the smartphone. And signature option enables users to enter their signatures and save them as image files. Next, let's take a look at style properties of speech processing atom. Speech processing atom can create audio recordings file using built-in microphone function in mobile devices, loading and outputting voice files as well as controlling the quality of the recording. In style properties of combo box, you can find source data, input properties, and display options. First, source data can be either DB data or internal memory depending on where the data will be retrieved from. DB data can be configured specifying the DB table name and field name of an existing database. Let's select the table that we previously created My Favorites app and select the field to add. When you switch to Run mode, the data stored in the table will be listed in the combo box. Let's also add menu field from the table, and edit restaurant name field by selecting Exclude from Type combo box on the right side of the Properties window. Then, when you switch to Run mode, you can see that there are two fields specified, but the data stored in restaurant name field is hidden from the combo box, and the menu field can be viewed in a list and selected. Then, let's choose internal memory from source data and create a list that will be shown in the combo box. In the Display Data field, for example, type team and press the Add button to configure. In the same way, let's add Team B and Team A. After entering Run mode, you can see the data entered from Style Properties is displayed in the combo box. Next, let's move on to Input Properties of Combo Box Atom. Sort item display items in the ascending order, and it is set by default. You might have noticed that the combo box displaying the item in the alphabetical order even though the data has been entered in the reverse order. If you unselect Sort Item property and go back to Run mode, the data will be displayed in the order that it is configured. Next, we'll check No Default Value property and type a message in the field on the right. Unless no default value is selected, the topmost data will always be displayed in the combo box and saved as the default value until users make a different selection. On the other hand, if you select no default value, you can instead display a phrase such as "Please select" to the empty field. Next, we will try out style properties of radio buttons. Radio buttons can be used to group data based on the specific criteria, and users input data by selecting one option from the group. For example, radio button can be used for a multiple-choice survey with a single answer, such as satisfaction feedback. Now let's set these atoms into a group. If you right-click on the first atom and select Style Properties, you can see that item properties consist of Set Group and Set Value. Using Set Group property, you can configure several radio buttons into a single group. If Set Group property is checked for the first radio button of the group, that radio button will be selected by default in run mode. When there are multiple radio buttons on the screen, you must select Set Group to process data. Set Value is a value to be stored in the database when the button is selected. You can specify the value identical to the atom's name, or in simple numbers as long as each radio button atom has unique value assigned. If you switch to run mode, you can see that only one of the three buttons can be selected. Let's take a look at style properties of Checkbox atom. Checkbox is an atom commonly used to select multiple options from the predefined group. Unlike radio buttons, users can select none or more than one checkboxes. As you can see on the screen, I've also configured 4 checkboxes, each as useful, good value, intuitive, and unique. Right-click on the checkbox atom to open Style Properties settings. Checkboxes' style properties are slightly different than radio button. There are 2 fields for set value, Select All and Select None. In Select All, we will enter the value to be saved when the checkbox is selected. And in Select None, we will enter the value to be saved when the checkbox is not selected. Unlike radio button atom, you can set identical value to different checkboxes, but in this tutorial let's enter T, F, 0, 1, A, B arbitrarily so that different values are stored in the database. Once the values are configured, let's switch to run mode to see how the checkbox atoms work. With Checkbox atom, you can select one option, multiple options, or none. Therefore, it can be used for providing multiple options with many possible answers. Now, we have completed our tour of data input atom style properties. So, let's take a look at scroll setup tools, starting with Join Scroll. First, let's join Date Picker and Combo Box atom added on the screen to a scroll. I will also add a row number atom on the left of Date Picker, so that each row will display identifying row number automatically. Select all 3 atoms and click Join Scroll atom to join them in a scroll. Next, let's open Style Properties. It consists of item properties and display options. In display options, you can select the number of rows to be displayed on the program screen. And let's check auto row numbering from display options so the row number can increase automatically each time a new data is entered. When switched to run mode, you can see the 8 rows on display and 20 rows that can be seen using scroll bar on the right. Let's take a look at style properties of data search tools starting with Search Table atom. Let's add a search table to the screen, and right-click to open Style Properties menu. Search Table atom style properties consist of input properties, row properties, column properties, and display options. Since Search Table is an atom that displays search results from the database, let's set up database first. For today's tutorial we'll use DB Manager to configure the database, but you can also use data properties which we will explore in detail in tutorial 14. From DB Manager window, on the left, you can see the currently connected DB tables are listed in a tree format. If you select My Favorites table we've created in the previous exercise, on the right side of the window, you can see the fields within the table. From these fields, You can simply drag and drop the fields you want to configure as a search table item to the search table. When added to the search table, the data for the selected field will be automatically retrieved and displayed on the search table. In addition, we'll also implement a search button using an event button atom. If you switch to Run mode and click the search button, the data stored in the database is shown, with scrolling feature to access all data. Let's switch back to Edit mode and edit search table style properties. Instant search is a property that automatically executes the search and displays the result in the search table. If instant search is configured, search items will be displayed, without pressing the search button, as soon as the program screen is executed. Next, block search is a property set by default. If there is a lot of search data, this property sets the DB server to send the search data in 60 units, that is, in block units. The next property, sort items, is another default property. It applies the specific sort method to the display items. After switching to Run mode, click Restaurant Name field to see that the existing data is sorted automatically in ascending or descending order. Sort items can be applied to items in English and numbers. Insert check is a property that inserts checkbox in the first cell of each row to allow optional selection. When you switch to Run mode, a checkbox will be added so users can select individual records. A common example of checkbox in search table can be seen in shopping cart page, in which customers can use checkbox in search table to order only the selected items. Next, Multiselect property is similar to checkbox, which allows you to select multiple rows instead of just one row. After selecting Multiselect option, you can use the Ctrl and Shift keys to select multiple rows, just as you would to select multiple files in a Windows environment. When there is a lot of data to retrieve, by default, a waiting icon is shown on the search table. However, if Hide Waiting property is selected, this icon won't be displayed. Next, let's look at row colors. This property adds a background color to make it easier to distinguish between rows. For example, you can specify white for odd rows and light blue for even rows. Similarly, row border property is also used to distinguish between rows by clearly separating row borders. It is also set by default. Next, column border is a property that displays lines to separate columns, similar to row border. If specified, a thin dotted line is added between the columns. Word wrap is a property that displays the contents in multiple rows instead of displaying them all in one line. If you select this property, cells with extensive data might change to consist multiple lines, which might change the table's look. Header is a field for indicating the current item. And hide header, the last options in input properties, prevents the header from being shown. You can specify this property when you don't want the header to be displayed in the search table and want only the retrieved data to be displayed. To complete the rest of search table items properties, let's look at row properties. Header height and row height, which can be adjusted by entering a percentage value relative to the initial size. You can change the height of the header and the height of the row respectively. Lastly, the fixed column in column properties is a property specific to mobile device and used to set items that will always be displayed regardless of scroll motion. Now we have concluded the tour of join scroll and search table items. We have taken a detailed look at style properties of most frequently used items. We have seen that each atom is provided with a myriad of properties that can be configured in various combinations. Because of this wide-ranging combination, even the most sophisticated functions that previously only possible with programming can be easily implemented with atom properties setting. In the future tutorials, we will learn more about how to take full advantage of SmartMaker's powerful features. Before we do so, let's take a quick look at one of the most crucial concepts in app creation, database, and its essential role in app creation. Thanks for watching.